Shabbat Shalom. We bless our King by saying Baruch et Yahweh, Baruch et Yahweh HaMevarach, Baruch atah Yahweh HaMevarach le'elam vayet, Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech ha'olam, Asher bekar benu makol hamayim v'natan lanu ha'torah, Baruch atah Yahweh notan ha'torah. That is to say, blessed be Yahweh the blessed one. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the blessed one for all eternity. Blessed are you, Yahweh, our Elohim, King of the universe, who selected us from all the peoples and gave us your Torah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, giver of the Torah, to the Elohim of our fathers, to the Elohim of Abraham, to the Elohim of Yitzhak, and to the Elohim of Yaakov, our King, our deliverer, our Savior, our provider, our healer. Do we come to you today, Yahweh, thanking you, Master, thanking you for all things, thanking you for this day that you have made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it. We ask you this day, O King, that you will forgive us of our sins, forgive us and cleanse us of unrighteousness, O King, that our prayers be not hindered this morning. We give thanks to you, for this is your set-apart day, and we are gathering, Master, out of obedience, not of fear to you, when we ask that you would honor us, Master, as we honor you. We thank you, O King, for the food that you have provided for us. We thank you for the shelter that we were able to lie ourselves down in peace and sleep, for you provided safety. We thank you, Master, for strength and activity of our limbs. We thank you for clothing us in our right mind, Master. We thank you for the knowledge that you have provided for us to bring us out of idolatry. We thank you for the wisdom. We thank you for understanding of your scriptures, O King, to know who you are and know who you are not. We thank you, Master, for the truth that you have provided for us to bring us to this place that we are today, Master. And we ask that you will continue to give us more knowledge, that we may follow your mitzvot, more fear, that we may come more in line with you as we go day by day. We thank you, Master, for keeping our children this week and bringing them home safely as they have traversed throughout the highways and byways, for only you provided safety for them, O King. And we thank you, Master. We thank you for those that are here today and the families that are represented, Master. We come to you with bowed head and humble hearts. We ask you to hear our prayer this day, O King, for you know the needs of all that are here, and we ask that you will hear our supplication and turn not a deaf ear to our cries, Master. But you would not only separate us here, but separate us, Master, from those that are wicked and evildoers in this world, O King. And we ask, how long, O King, how long will the baby stay in? But we know that you shall bring us to birth, O Master. And when that day shall come, we shall say, this is our King. This is the one whom we have waited on. Master, we ask that you will speak kind words towards us, for your word shall not go out empty, and it shall not return to you void, but it shall accomplish all that you sent it to do. So, Master, we beg of thee that you would speak kind words towards us, and when you think upon us, Master, that you would be tenderhearted towards your people, Israel, for you said that you know them that are yours. And we thank you this day, Master, that you have kept us and that you continue to keep us, O King. And we ask that you would keep us, Master, as we go throughout this week until we meet here again. This is our prayer.
We're going to read from the Helium, Psalms 18. Let us read. I love you, Yahweh, my strength. Yahweh is my rock, my fortress, my deliverer, my El, my rock, in whom I find shelter. My shelter, the power that saves me, my stronghold. I call on Yahweh, who is worthy of praise, and I am saved from mine enemies. For the cords of death surround me, the floods of Ba'ala'ah terrify me, the ropes of Sheol were wrapped around me, the snares of death lay there before me. In my distress, I called on Yahweh. I cried out to El. Out of his temple he heard my voice. My cry reaches his ears. And the earth quaked and shook, the fountains of the mountains trembled. Their shake because he was angry. Smoke arose in his nostrils, and out of his mouth came devouring fire. Sparks blazed forth from him. He lowered the heaven and came down in thick darkness under his feet. He rode in a curlew. He flew, swooping down on the wings of the wind. He made the darkness his hiding place, his canopy thick clouds, dark with water. From the brightness before him, he broke through his thick clouds, hailstones, and fiery coals. Yahweh also thundered in the Shemayim, the heavens. Hayalum sounded his voice, hailstones and fiery coals. He sent out arrows and scattered them. Shout out lightning and routed them. The channels of water appeared. The fountains of the world were exposed at your rebuke, Yahweh, at the blast of breath from your nostrils. He sent from on high. He took me and pulled me out of deep water. He rescued me from the powerful enemy and from those who hate me, for they were stronger than I. They came against me on the day of disaster, but Yahweh was my support. He brought me out to an open place, and he rescued me because he took pleasure in me. Yahweh rewarded me for uprightness. He repaid me because my hands were clean. For I have kept the ways of Yahweh. I have not done evil by leaving my El, for all his rulings were before me. I did not distance his regulations from me. I poured my pure heart with him and kept myself from sin. Hence, Yahweh repaid me with uprightness, according to the purity of my hands in his view. With the merciful, you are merciful. With a man who is sincere, you are sincere. With the poor, you are pure. But with the crooked, you are cunning. People afflicted, you save. But honey eyes, you humble. For you, Yahweh, light my lamp. Yahweh, my El, lights up my darkness. With you, I can run through a whole troop of men. With my El, I can leap a wall. As for El, his way is perfect. The word of Yahweh has been tested by fire. He shields all who take refuge in him. For who is El but Yahweh? Who is the rock but our El? It is El who girds me with strength. He makes my strength go straight. He makes me swift, sure-footed as a deer. He enables me to stand on my high places. He trains my hands for war until my arms can bend a bow of bronze. You give me your shield, which is salvation. Your right hand holds me up. Your humility makes me great. Your length, the steps I can take. Yet my ankles do not turn. I pursued my enemies and overtook them without turning back until they were destroyed. I crushed them so that they can't get up. They have fallen under my feet. For you braced me with the strength of the battle and bent down your adversaries beneath me. You made my enemies turn their backs in flight and destroyed those who hated me. They cried out, but there was no one to help, even to Yahweh, but he didn't answer. I pulverized them like dust in the wind, threw them out like mud in the streets. You also freed me from the quarrels of my peoples. You made me head of the nations, a people I did not know. Now serve me. The moment they hear of me, they obey me. Foreigners come cringing to me. Foreigners lose heart as they come trembling before the fortress. Yahweh is alive. Blessed is my rock. Exalted be El of my salvation. The El who avenges me, subdues people under me. He delivers me from my enemies. You lifted me high above the enemies. You rescued me from violent men. So I give thanks to you, to Yahweh. Among the nations, I sing praises to your name. Great salvation he gives to his king. He displays grace to his anointed, to David. He has his descendants forever. Let us say hallelujah. All praise to the mighty Yah. You may be seated. It's great once again to be here in the house that the Most High has provided for us to worship in and to see each one of you again on this Shabbat. So happy today to see Sister Cheryl. We're happy to see her today, and all of those of you who have made it out. Well, here's our Moreh that's going to teach today, Moreh Shawn Appleton.
Yay. It is a Shabbat, and we ought to do what when on Shabbat? Rejoice. Rest. It's a happy time. It's not one where we're downtrodden and we get consumed by the things of the ways of the world. We draw upon those things that the Most High has given us, all His blessings. And we take refuge and comfort in the know that the Most High is with us always. So to the all-existent one, the beneficent, the omnipresent, the magnanimous, the one that has created all things from nothing, that has allowed His people that are in exile, through our association and our heritage of Hebrew Israel, the great El of Methuselah, Shem, Yaakov, Eye Asher Eye, El Shaddai, El Elyon, Yahweh Sevaot, Lord of hosts, King of kings. I thank Him for allowing me to be in front of Hebrew Israel one more again to tell you like it T.I. is. I thank the Most High for allowing me this opportunity. To Ambassador Beacom, thank you for your prayer today, sir. Shabbat shalom to you. To Ambassador Harless, who is faithful in following me and keeping things on the screen and keeping me straight as we read the Most High's word. Shabbat shalom to you. To Moreh Trey Beverly, Shabbat shalom to you, sir. You got 3 more weeks, right? And we go 3 more weeks and we gonna hear from you? Okay. Shabbat shalom to you, sir. Before I go and greet our last guest of honor, I've been failing to do something while I've been up here a whole bunch that I'm going to correct right now. How in the world can we have Hebrew Israel without the strength of our women behind us? We have so many matriarchs in our midst, in our lineage, and we do not tend to give them as enough shine as we should. It is a blessing to know that when you have a woman that's beside you, that she is wise in the ways of the Most High. That there was a pastor that told me a long time ago that if you enter a room filled full of smoke, it's going to be inevitable that when you leave that room, you are going to smell like smoke. When you have a woman at your side that is wise in the ways of the Most High, it is a breath of fresh air. It is something that is extremely attractive. Men, I'm looking at y'all in here. You want a woman that's attractive and what spews out of her mouth is wise. Is that not something that you look to have from your helpmate? Wisdom. So, before I continue to go on and moving forward to my wife, Ambassador Appleton, Shabbat shalom to you. to the head of this house, my mentor and leader, the head elder here, the head teacher here, the one whom I submit to in direction on the ways of the Most High, the Honorable Robert B. Holman Jr. Shabbat Shalom to you, sir. For those of you that are joining us by way of the stream, Shabbat Shalom to you. Your continued faithfulness is nothing less than a word that we like to use in present day, which is awesome. Shabbat Shalom to you. For all of our descendants that are here and those that are not here with us today, Shabbat Shalom to you. Know that your ancestors tried to walk in the ways of the Most High the best way we could. There's a saying in the jazz world that says that I could see further when I stood on the shoulders of giants. So hopefully the things that are being shared here today will help you see further and get us closer back to the redemption into the land with the Most High. Shabbat Shalom to you. For our in-house studio audience, okay, don't mess this up, okay? Don't mess it up. I'm giving you a precursor. You're ready to go subterranean. Wait a minute, hold on. I even fed you the line. We tired today? Was y'all all out at the Sawyer last night? Was y'all partying? Was there a festival I missed last night? Y'all, are y'all ready to go subterranean? Yeah. Are y'all ready to go to the stratosphere? Yeah. Shabbat Shalom. All hail to the kingdom and empire of Hebrew Israel. I have been asked to fill in today. I am not even going to make an excuse for what I'm presenting today because, you know, I spend a lot of time trying to dig things up and do some research, and time was compressed in trying to put this together. But I hope that the acumen and study that we do here today is at the level and standard that you expect from me coming from the stage. So we will continue with our study in 2 Shemuel as we march towards the end of 2 Shemuel. We've only got 2 more times before, when I get up here, before we'll be at the end of 2 Shemuel. 2 Shemuel ends in chapter number 24 of 2 Shemuel. But I want to ask you guys a question before we get started. And also I want to give you a disclaimer. We're going to be long today. Like I told you, I'm going to take a page out of the Moreh from Atlanta because they are in Shabbat study all day. So this is going to be a pretty long one today. And this is probably the biggest one that we have marching towards the end when we do our study of David. But I want to start out by getting you engaged a little bit. I want to give you an observation that I had this week, and I want to see if you guys maybe think the same way too. Question for you. Pregunta in Espanol. Why does the Most High elect to use kicking us out of the land and putting us in exile? Why does he decide to do that? One would think that I have the mitzvot in Vayikra chapters number 1 through 4 that give me all of the atonements that happen when something happens inside the land. This is what you are to offer as an atonement. So one would think that if you're in the land and you're breaking the Shabbat, we have laws, rulings, mitzvot, and statutes that tell us how to deal with those individuals. So by way of thinking about it, you would think that you'd be eradicating all the riffraff in the land while you're in the land. So why does the Most High decide to kick us out? That's right. We were disobedient as a reason as to why he would kick us out. But why does he say, I'm kicking you out? Why doesn't he just kill you? Ah, very good. That's where I'm going. The fact of the matter is that it is a greater part. We talked about in a previous podcast that why does the Most High allow the New Testament? He is allowing the New Testament to be in place to test you, to put idolatry in front of you so you can see what it looks like, and so you understand if I follow after this, I'm testing you to see whether or not you love me. I'm using this exile. Now think about it. I had to think about this because I was watching a particular YouTube video this morning and I had to stop and I had to say to myself, wow, I see the violation of mitzvot left and right. I'm putting you in exile, so I'm teaching you a lesson to see whether or not you love me or not. You don't love me. Why? Because you don't do what I ask you to do. So I'm going to let you see what life is like outside of the land. I'm going to let you see what failed marriages look like. I'm going to let you see what failed relationships look like. I'm going to let you see what a failed economy looks like. I'm going to let you see when you violate the dietary laws, how your body breaks down in front of you. I am going to let you see that when you allow the LBGT, whatever, creep its way into your society, what it looks like. You have to learn to appreciate what you have. So, in order for you to understand it, I'm going to make you live it. I'm going to give you some experiential knowledge as to why it's better to be back in the land with the mitzvot than to be outside of it. If you love me, you will do what I ask you to do. I'm looking at all the women in here in this room, and y'all all have the imprint of the Most High. You know how I know you have the imprint of the Most High? Every woman has the imprint of the Most High. I'm going to show you why. I'm going to tie this in. When I write a song, if I write something, it has my imprint on it. It's my handiwork. When you look at a Vincent van Gogh painting, he has a specific style that he used, that you can identify that that's a Van Gogh. When you look at anybody's artwork or artistry, who knows of this artist named Prince? He has a specific style that he writes in. Some of the elderly generation might say, oh, I know that old Motown song. I know a sound. I know a sound of Timbaland. I know the sound of a Dr. Dre. Because it's an imprint that they have. I can tell the imprint of the Most High because it's exemplified through you women. You're in a relationship with a man. And the man says, my wife does this to me all the time. That's how I know. He says, matter of fact, I'm looking at you. Have you said this to your wife? Baby, I love you. Every day. Baby, I love you. And what do you women do? The same thing that the Most High does. Asking, how do you know? How do I know that? Prove it. I have to show you that I love you. That's why we take you out on dates, because it's quantifiable, experiential knowledge of how I'm investing my money to show you how important you are to me. That is an imprint of the handiwork of the Most High. Because you're always looking, if someone's telling you something, I'll believe what you do before I believe what you say. So if you're going to love me, then show me. Take me out on an expensive date. Show me my value to me. When the Most High asks us to do what is in his text, he's asking us to do the same thing. That's his handiwork. It's written all over you. Okay? Let's go to Devarim chapter number 30, verse 16. We need to get this in our spirit and continue to reiterate it. Before we go there, do you see an image of Christianity in here? Do you see an image of Christianity here? I'm going to see something. Hopefully you see something here. I'm going to explain it to you. As a trait, as a behavioral trait of the Most High says, if you love me, then you're going to do what? You're going to prove it to me. By doing what? It is an action. It is not lip service. It is an action. If you love me, you're going to do something. Here's your image of Christianity. Look at it. Here it comes. Here comes your short, Johann Tate. If you love me, you will do something. The Most High doesn't require you to simply just say, by the confession of your mouth and believing in your heart. I can tell you that I love you all day long and think and be delusional and think that I do. But until I show you that I love you, it means nothing. So how in the world, when we have a Most High that says, you will do something, you will show it to me, get over 400 years later after he takes a dirt nap and say, all you got to do is just say it to me now. Just say it. Yeah, I'm cool with it. You need to know the behavior of your Yahweh. The behavior of your Yahweh is in Devarim chapter number 30, verse 16 through 19. Let's read it together. It says, in that I am ordering you today to love Yahweh your El, to what? Follow his ways and to obey his mitzvot, regulations and rulings. For if you do, you will live and increase your numbers, and Yahweh your El will bless you in the land you are entering in order to take possession of it. But if your heart turns away, if you refuse to listen, if you are drawn away to prostrate yourself before Jesus Christ, before other Els, and serve them, I am announcing to you today that you will certainly perish. You will not live long in the land, and you are crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. I'm giving you this exile to teach you a lesson. Okay? It's a test. And we as Hebrews are failing it with flying colors. So the next time somebody tells you that they love El, no, you don't. Show me. All I got to do is profess it with my mouth and believe in my heart. No. That's not what the Most High says in Devarim chapter number 30, verse 16 through 19. He says, you got to show me. That's the postulation I had this morning, standing in my mirror while I was shaving, listening to some mess on YouTube, looking at this world that we live in, and I'm saying, my goodness, how much better would it be if we were back in the land under the ways of the Most High? All this stuff that we were dealing with, we wouldn't have to deal with. But because we've decided to follow after other Els, this is what you get. Let's jump right into 2 Samuel, chapter number 19 and 20. Remember, I gave you a formula. And I said, if you can remember the mitzvot that get discussed in these chapters, you'll be able to remember kind of the things that are going on. You can associate a particular situation that goes with a particular mitzvot. Fortunately enough, in this particular two passages, we're going to be going over mitzvot that we've already gone over before. They're going to continue to keep coming up as we come to the culmination of almost David's life at the end in these next 6 chapters that we're reviewing, starting with 19 today. Mitzvot that will come up are Yahweh will select the king for Israel. Everybody's pretty much familiar with that. Not to curse the leader of Yisrael. That's another mitzvot that comes up. Not to break an oath or a vow. Murder comes up. And not to touch a corpse. And the mitzvot that deal with those particular issues. Okay? There's also one that's up here that I didn't write. You've got all of my chapters and verses except for one. There's one that comes up here, and it's the issue on slander. It is a mitzvot on slander. You opening your mouth to lie on somebody. That's going to come up today too. These are the chapters and verses that I'm going to be covering today. If you want to take a snapshot of that and go back and refer to the precedent that I'm going to be setting based on those chapters there. Okay, let's get ready to rumble. In chapter 19, it begins of 2 Shemuel. Matter of fact, scroll up just a little bit. There you go. Trembling. So, before we get there, does everybody know where David is right now? We just came out of a what? A battle in the forest. We found out that how many people got consumed? 20,000 people of Israel got killed in the forest. It was Absalom's army, his son, going to fight his father, Melech David, right? Okay. We found out that Absalom gets killed. He gets caught in a tree. They use the terrain. He gets caught in it. Oh! Yoav, the commander of David's army, takes how many darts? 3. Stabs Absalom in the heart, and then has 10 of his armor bearers come and hack him to pieces. Kills him. Take Absalom, they throw him in a pit, cover him up with a bunch of rocks. David is now finding out about what happened to his son, because remember we had that little segue in there when I talked about the Olympics and whatnot, because what happens is what? Abiathar wants to go and tell Melech David that his son is dead. And who is sent to do it? An Ethiopian. The Ethiopian is running. Abiathar runs him down. They give David the information, and that's where we leave off. It's this kind of this cliffhanger as to how David reacts to now finding out that his son is dead. This is where we're picking up in 19. We all in together now. Everybody know about Wu-Tang. Let's go. Y'all quiet today. Y'all gonna talk to me today. I got the PhD level folk in here today. But y'all gonna talk to me. Let's go. 19. It says, trembling, the king went up to the room over the gates, weeping and crying. Oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died instead of you. Oh, Absalom, my son, my son. I can kind of sympathize with David here a little bit because, number one, Absalom was taking vengeance on what happened to his sister. Any man in here that has a mother or a sister, I understand you would be like, you know what? That's the mitzvot, but I'm just going to still have to kill you. You're not going to mess with my sister or my mama, and I'm not going to take action. So I can understand why Absalom is in the position that he is. He did still violate the mitzvot by committing murder, by doing this his own vigilante justice against his brother Amnon. But at the end of the day, he wouldn't have to necessarily be in that position. He didn't want that. So David still has a heart for his son. Now, while he went away, we also understand that while he's on the run from his murder charge, he goes to his maternal grandfather, who is a foreigner, and Geshur. So Absalom is mixed. He has a Geshurite mother, and David is his father. So he's a mixed individual. So what happens is that while he's away, he makes this oath, and he says, hey, if you return me back to Jerusalem, then I'm going to be king, or at least I'm going to serve you. That's what the text says. It says, I'm going to serve you. But what we find out is that how he's going to serve the Most High is by usurping the throne from his father. So he's king, all right? So he's usurping the throne. Absalom is basically acting out of probably what any person would do. He doesn't know if he's going to live or die, because why? His father is the kinsman, next of kin's avenger. His father has to be the one that kills him. So if my dad's going to kill me, if it's going to be me or him, then I'm going to go with me. So he's making these decisions. So it's the things that he's kind of sympathizing with his son to say, I didn't hold any grudge in my heart against my son. I kind of understand why you made the decisions that you made. So he still has a heart for his son. He doesn't hate him. It says in 2, it says Yoav. Who is Yoav? David's general, his head general. And his nephew. That's right. David has a sister named Seruah. Seruah's son is Yoav and Avishai. Those are the only 2 out of the 3 that are left. It says, Yoav was told, the king is weeping, mourning for Absalom. Thus the victory that day was turned into mourning for all the people, then into mourning for all the people. For all the people heard, it was said that day that the king was grieving for his son. So that the people entered the city furtively that day, the way people who are ashamed creep away when fleeing from a battlefield. I'm going to look at this brother back here in the corner. His name is Zay. He's been in many a football game. And I'm pretty sure, what's the highest you've gone? State? What? You've gone to state. Did y'all win at the state? Mom, what did he say? Regional. Okay. So you went to the regional. Did you win at the regional? Okay. How did y'all go back to the locker room? Thank you. Notice when they go to do the Super Bowl, they never go to the losing room's locker room. Okay? So these people are slumping off the field, heads down, when they hear of the fact that their king is weeping over his son. Okay? That's how the people of Israel are right now. To give you some context. Meanwhile, the king covered his face and cried out aloud. Here we go again. Oh, my son Absalom. Oh, Absalom, my son, my son. Yoav went inside to the king and said, this is interesting. He says to him, today you made all your servants feel ashamed. They saved your life today and the lives of your sons and daughters, wives and concubines. But you love those who hate you and hate those who love you. Today you said that the princes and servants mean nothing to you. For I can see today that it would have pleased you more if Absalom had lived today and we had all died. What is he telling them? You over here crying about your one son. And it was 20,000 of your kinsmen that died out there, that have wives, sons, all these other things. And you are selfish enough to think about you. You're the king of Israel. Act like one. Now, get up. Go out and speak heart to heart with your servants. For I swear by Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, I swear by Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, that if you don't go out, not one man will stay here with you tonight, and that will be worse for you than all of the misfortunes you have suffered from your youth until now. Verse 8. So the king got up and sat in the city gateway, and when all the people were told, now the king is sitting in the gate, they came before the king. Meanwhile, Israel had fled. So these were the people that were with David, the people that were on the opposing side with Absalom. These are the people that we're talking about. Israel had fled, each man to his tent, and throughout all the tribes of Israel. This is a good point to make here. And throughout all the tribes of Israel, to all the tribes of Israel, there was dissension among the people. So there's a conflict. They're discussing something among themselves. They're saying the king delivered us. They were saying the king delivered us from the power of our enemies and saved us from the power of the Philistine. So this is Israel. This is all of Absalom's contingent saying David delivered us from the power of the Philistine and David delivered us from the power of our enemies. But now he has fled to a land to escape Absalom. However, Absalom, whom we anointed to rule. Bing, 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 bing. Let's do our first mitzvot. Let's finish the sentence and we'll do our first mitzvot. However, Absalom, whom we anointed to rule us, is dead in battle. So now, why doesn't anyone suggest bringing the king back? Let's go to Devarim chapter number 17, verses 14 through 17. This is our mitzvahs. There's a couple of mitzvahs that are actually in here. We're going to read this all the way through. Actually, we're not. We're going to do this one part and just keep moving. It says, when you have entered the land, Eye Asher Eye, your El is giving you. This is a commandment, so listen up. This is germane to the land. And you have taken the possession of it, and you are living there. You may say, I want to have a king over me, like all the other nations around me. Go on ahead, Hebrew Israel. Just want to be like everybody else. In that event, you must appoint as king the one whom, who? Eye Asher Eye Yahweh, your El will choose. He must be from your kinsmen. This king you appoint over you. You are forbidden to appoint a foreigner over you who is not your kinsman. Okay? That is how the appointing of a king happens in Hebrew Israel. Yahweh has to do it. So let's go back over to 19 in 2 Samuel and jump back down to verse number 10. That's in the parenthetical. Where it says, however, Absalom, who anointed as we. So we are a violation of the mitzvah, right? The people cannot appoint a king. It's dead in battle, so now why doesn't anyone suggest bringing the king back? 11. King David sent the message to Zadok and Abiathar the Kohanim. These are his two main Kohanims right now. Ask the leaders of Yehuda, why are you the last to bring the king back to his palace? Let me go slow. We're going to forensically pick this apart. As for the leaders of Yehuda, why are you the last to bring the king back to his palace? The king has already heard that Israel wants to return him to his palace. So what we have here is a separation. He's separating Yehuda from Israel. Okay? It says, you are my kinsman, my flesh and bone. So why are you the last to bring back the king? To where? First of all, where is he bringing him back to? Let's define some stuff. To Yerushalayim. Thank you. Who controls Yerushalayim? What territory, what tribe does Yerushalayim belong to? Yehuda. I'm glad that you're looking at me like I'm a stone cold fool. Let's go to Yahashua chapter number 15, 63. Chapter 15, verse 63. And you got to remember, this comes to fruition in 2 Samuel when your king, Melech David, takes the land from these individuals. It says, as for the Uvisi who lived where? In Yerushalayim, the descendants of Yehuda could not drive them out. So the Uvisi live with the descendants of who? Yehuda in Yerushalayim to this day. So we're establishing by this text here that Yerushalayim is controlled by Yehuda. Okay? Bringing him back into Yehuda. Bringing him back into Yerushalayim. Now, by way of that, why is he asking the question, why is Yehuda the last to bring me back? Can anybody maybe come up as a reason why he's asking that? Absalom, in the previous chapter, I love that look on your face. Absalom, in the previous chapter, took how many men that didn't know about what was going on with this coup with him? From Yerushalayim into Hebron. 200 guys. So, what you have here is simply this. Let me just explain it to you, because this comes up before. We got all your family members, Yehuda. They're a part of Israel. and we're going to go against the king. I have to go and deal with your kinsmen first because they're loyal to you. So, therefore, why isn't my own kinsman brought me back first? You're a part of me. Maybe there's some guilt that's there to say that we were a part of this queue to usurp the throne. We didn't necessarily all of us go with you. 200 of our leaders went down into Hebron with Absalom to usurp the throne. So they're kind of walking on eggshells with David right now. Where did something like this come up before? Now, this is an extra credit question. If you get this, I'm going to sit myself down. Where did something like this happen before? Come on, so I can sit down. Come on, so I can sit down. You said Shlomo? No. Almost, but it's almost identical to what's happening. We have a situation in Hebrew Israel. Let's roll the clock back to Melech Shaul. Okay? Melech Shaul. So, Melech Shaul dies in battle. Okay? He dies. When Melech Shaul dies, his son Ishbosheth takes the throne. There's a certain situation. I know Livy back there, she knows which situation this was. What happened with Ishbosheth and Abner? Ishbosheth and Abner. Abner is now the commander. So Joab was the commander of Israel. I'm getting real technical. He goes with Melech David. Ishbosheth, who is the son of Melech Shaul, is now on the throne in Israel. Okay? David is on the run. He's in Achish with the king of Gath. Okay? He's with the Philistine right now. Away. In Israel, Ishbosheth is king. His commander is a man by the name of Abner. They have a falling out because Abner goes and has sexual relations with Melech Shaul's concubine. Ishbosheth goes to Abner and said, what in the world is you doing with my father's concubine? He said, listen, brother, let me get you squared away right now. First of all, I'm not breaking any mitzvos. And second of all, how dare you part your mouth to talk to me like that? Because number one, I didn't break any mitzvos. And number two, I'm out here risking my neck to make sure the kingdom is secured for you. Matter of fact, middle finger to you. Walks off. Goes to David and says, hey, David, sends a message to him. Says, this fool has completely lost his mind over here. I will give you all of Israel. I will deliver them to you, so now you will have command over the whole entire nation of Hebrew Israel. What ensues next is that when Abner, they have this little conversation, Abner now has to go back and talk to the entire tribesmen, and David accepts the offer. He has to go and talk to the entire tribe of Hebrew Israel. It says in there he talked to Hebrew Israel and he talked to the tribe of Benjamin. He separates the two. Why? Because Melech Shaul is from the tribe of Benjamin. And what you're asking him to do is to create a coup against his own kinsmen. That's why he had to deal with Benjamin separate from the rest of Israel. He knew he had the rest of Israel in the bag, but he had to specifically speak to Benjamin a certain way to say, hey, listen, I know he's your relative. He's your close relative, but he's still a jack-up. Now, think about that. Somebody in your family want to usurp your authority. What they going to do? They're going to deal with the people that's your main proponents first, aren't they? Y'all ain't never been in no family situation where families get out of line with each other. And then what they start doing, they start aligning themselves together to come after your behind. And what they're going to do, they said, we got to walk. There's certain people in the family that are kind of neutral. We got to go ahead and we got to make sure that we talk to them separately because we know that they're a loyalist to this person. Same thing. I'm setting the precedent with Melech Shaul to say this is the same thing that David's going through right now. He's asking his own kinsmen, aren't you the first ones to bring me back? Well, maybe it's because we're a little guilty because we tried to get you killed. Precedent, Your Honor. We said precedent. 12. Matter of fact, am I going to 12? Let's go to 13. 13 in the parenthetical that's here. It says 13, it says, also tell Amasa. Who is Amasa? Amasa is another commander in David's army. It says, tell Amasa, you are my flesh and bone. May El bring terrible curses on me and worse ones yet if from now on you are not the permanent commander of the army instead of Joab. So David said to the man that put them 3 darts in my son's heart, you have now been demoted as the commander of the Hebrew Israelites. The commander of the army now is a man named Amasa, but he ain't going to live long. 14, it says, thus he turned the hearts of all the men of Yehudah around as if they were one man, so that they sent a message to the king, come back, you and all your servants. The king started back and arrived at the Jordan. Now remember, he had crossed the Jordan and is trying to escape from his son. Now he's gotten back to the Jordan. When you're doing your Hebrew study, it is important for you to understand when we went through Yehoshua where these places are. He is in the land of Ephraim right now. Okay? He is in the land of Ephraim. That's a point that we need to make. It says, while Yehudah came to Gilgal in order to meet the king, to bring the king over the Jordan. Shimei, the son of Gera, the Binyami, the Honorable Robert B. Holman Jr., because I'm going to say this to you because you got an affiliation with this name, Benjamin. So every time this comes up in this next part, I'm going to look back there at you. Who? He said he was a what? He was from the tribe of Benjamin. From Bahurim. Anybody remember what we went over with Bahurim and this individual? Can anybody remember who Shimei is? Right. So Melech David is leaving Israel. Shimei from the house of Shaul comes out throwing stones at him. What does he say? What does he tell him? You murderous dog. Everything that's coming back onto you now. Look at you now. You leaving. You then lost everything because of your bloodthirstiness against my kinsman, which was a Benjamite, which was Melech Shaul. This is the guy. It's funny to me what you're going to see over these next couple of verses is everybody that was against David comes back groveling at his feet. If I was a Christian pastor, this would be a springboard into something right now. When people, I get revved up, when people come against you and you know that God is on your side, they always going to come back groveling at you. You know, you can work that. And that's what we do as Hebrews who don't know who we Hebrews are. We kind of put all these characters on the text. But you're going to see here that Shimei, the son of Gera, the man of Benjamin from Bahurim, hurried and came down with the men of Yehudah to meet the king. Let's go over that, what Shimei did. You need some context. 2 Samuel chapter number 16, verses 5 through 8. This is the situation between Shimei and Melech David. It says, 2 Samuel chapter number 16, verses 5 through 8. When King David arrived at Bahurim, there came out from there a man from Shaul's family. You have to know that he's a Benjaminite, named Shimei, the son of Gera. And he came out pronouncing curses and throwing stones at David and all King David's servants. Even though all the people, including his bodyguard, surrounded him right and left. When Shimei cursed, he said, "Get out of here. Get out of here, you killer. You good for nothing. Asher has brought back on you all the blood of your house of Shaul. You usurped the kingship, his kingship, but Asher has handed over the kingdom to Absalom, your son. You see how this man thinks he's right? You see how what they're doing then is that they're doing right now? Oh, I got a word from God about you. No, you didn't. None of what you're saying even happened. This charlatan witchcraft work you think you got going on about me, I follow after the Most High, and it wasn't spoken to nothing about that from the Most High to me. That's how much you don't know. It says, Asher has brought back on you all the blood of the house of Shaul. You usurped his kingship. He did not. Lest you know he was anointed king a long time ago, while Melech Shaul was alive. But Asher has handed over the kingdom to Absalom, your son. Now, your own evil has overtaken you because you are a man of blood. Let's go to another mitzvot that's tied into this, which is in Shemot chapter number 22, verse 28. It's the mitzvot on not to curse the leader of Hebrew Israel. It says in 28, it says, you are not to curse who? El. You are not to curse a leader of your people. Is that what Shimei did? Yes, he most certainly did. He cursed the leader of the people. 2 Shemuel, chapter number 19, verse 17. It says, there, let me wait for you to get there. I know you're on top of me. It says, there were 1,000 men of Benjamin with him. So who's present? Shimei is there, the stone thrower. And now we hear about 1,000 men from Benjamin joining him. So he came with backup. Let's jump him. Also, Siva, the servant of the house of Shaul, with 15 sons and 20 servants. Everybody remember who Siva is? No, I'm glad you asked because I'm going to tell you who he was again. Okay. They rushed into the yard in the head of the king to ferry the king's household across and do whatever else the king wanted done. All of his detractors are starting to show up. They're starting to CYA, which is what? Save, or no, it's not. CYA is what? It's not save, it's cover. Yo, donkey. Okay? They're CYAing now because now David's back in power. Let's go back over what happened with Siva. Siva is from the house of Benjamin. He's serving someone who is the son of Yehotanan. His name is Mephibosheth. What was wrong with Mephibosheth? Mephibosheth had lame legs. He couldn't walk because in the midst of his father, Yehotanan, being killed and his grandfather, Melech Shaul, being killed, his nurse scooped him up. And as they're traveling or dragging him, however the text reads, he fell and now he's lame in his legs. Okay? That's Mephibosheth. Siva was taking care of Mephibosheth. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter number 16. 16 verses 1 through 4. While this is important, we need to go through this. While David is on the run from Absalom previously, Siva shows up with provisions for all of the people that were out in the desert or outside the land. Remember I told y'all, when you Hebrews, I don't know about no other culture or ethnicity of people, but I know about y'all, when y'all get hungry, y'all real irritable. Y'all real funky acting. I need to eat. Okay? So they were thirsty and hungry out wherever they were, whatever city they were in. And Siva brings provisions. Let's read it. It says, when David had gone a little past the summit, there was who? Siva, the servant of who? Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth is the son of Yehotanan, who was David's best friend when he was alive, who met him with a pair of donkeys saddled, and on them 200 loaves of bread, 100 bunches of raisins, 100 pieces of summer fruit, and
a skin of wine. The king said to Sevilla, what do you mean by these? Sevilla replied, the donkeys are for the king's household to ride on. The bread and summer fruit are for the young men to eat, and the wine is for those who collapse in the desert. 3, the king asked, where is your master's, and it says grandson, who are we referring to? Mephibosheth. Sevilla's master is Melech Shaul, who's dead. Okay? Sevilla answered the king, he is staying in Jerusalem. Who is staying in Jerusalem? Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth is staying in Jerusalem because he said, today the house of Israel will restore my father's kingship to me. The king said to Sevilla, everything that belongs to Mephibosheth is now yours. Sevilla answered, I bow down before you. May I find favor in your sight, my lord the king. So we have two things that are happening in the land during the time of Absalom when he's trying to usurp the throne. Absalom is in the city of refuge, which is Hebron. He's declaring his kingship there. At the same time, Mephibosheth is in Jerusalem saying he's going to return the throne to me. These two individuals are in the land claiming the throne while David's outside. Okay? You following? Woo-hoo. This is what's happening at the same time. Okay? Now, because of that, he says to Sevilla, since this fool decides that he wants to be king when he's not, he wants to claim a position. Here's another one for you, Christian church. There's another platform. You can springboard off of this one. When you in your congregation and you got all these people that's on your staff and they want to usurp your power. No, that I'm in charge. Oh, that whole entire thing. Okay? He's trying to tell him, hey, listen, you know what? Since this fool decided he wants to call himself the king, whatever possessions that came out of the house of Melech Shaul are now yours. I'm done with this fool. This is Sevilla telling David this while he's on the run from Absalom. That's his story. Okay? Let's move forward. Let's go back to 2 Samuel chapter 19, and we will pick up in 18 in the parenthetical. It says, they all met him to ferry the king's household across and do whatever else the king wanted done. Shimei, the son of Gera, that's the guy, the stone thrower, he says, fell down before the king and when he was ready to cross the Jordan and said to the king, let's see how he does this. He says to the king, may my lord not hold me guilty of any crime. Don't remember the wrong your servant did on that day my lord the king left to Jerusalem. This is just packed with just Christian stuff all day. You could just springboard off all this all day long. It says, may the king not take it to heart, for your servant knows that I have sinned. Therefore, what is he doing? He's apologizing. He's groveling. Okay? Listen to how it says. He says, therefore, look, I am the first one of the house of Joseph to come today to go down to meet my lord the king. What's the problem with that sentence? What's the problem with that sentence? I said that every time that I bring up this man named Shimei, I was going to look back there at Moreh, Robert B. Holman Jr. and say what? Shimei is from the tribe of Benjamin. Why in the world here in text does it say, I am the first one of the house of Joseph to come today to go down to meet my lord the king? Close. I heard he's lying. Why does who comes out of the loins of Joseph? What two tribes? Ephraim and Manasseh. Where did I tell you he was? He's in Ephraim. He hasn't crossed the Jordan yet. So let me rephrase what he's saying to make sense. You're in the land of Ephraim, my king. Out of all of the house of Joseph, that's Ephraim, me, the Benjaminite, am the first to meet you here to take you across the Jordan. Now let's read with that understanding, let's read it again. It says, therefore, I am the first one. Should have been a comma there. Of all the house of Joseph, comma, to come today to go out and meet my Lord the King. It's a geographical thing in order for you to understand why he says out of the house of Joseph. Because he's in Ephraim, and Joseph has two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. Okay? That's how you break that down. It says 21. 21, anyway. What is it, y'all? He's asking me, he says, what's 9 plus what? He said 9 plus 10. 21. Avishai, I'm sorry, I'm old. I'm trying to be young, to appeal to the young people, and it's just not working today for me. Just keep your old butt on this text. Just keep moving, sir. Avishai, the son of Zeruiah, answered, shouldn't Shimei be put to death for this? He's asking him about a mitzvah. He says, you're not to curse the leader of the people. And he's asking him, shouldn't this dude be dead for what he did? He says, after all, he cursed Asher's anointed ruler. But David said, what do I have in common with you? He's talking about the bloodthirstiness of Zeruiah's sons, Avishai and Joab. He said, what do I have in common with the sons of Zeruiah? Why have you become my adversaries today? Should anyone in Israel be put to death today? He's got all this death that's happened to his son. He's in a distraught state, and we're still talking about killing people. Don't I know today that I am king over Israel? Then the king said to Shimei, you will not be put to death. That's his word to him. The king swore it to him. Bing, 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 bing. Mitzvot. What mitzvot is that? Which mitzvot is that? Oaths. Oaths. Bad Midbar, chapter number 3. Let's back it up. Because you guys don't believe me. You do have a mitzvot on oaths. You do have a mitzvot on keeping your word. It says, then Moshe spoke to the heads of the tribes of the people of Israel. He said, wait a minute, hold on. For all of y'all who want to say that it is written in the law of Moshe, let me correct you. Moshe is a scribe. Moshe wrote the things that the Most High Yahweh told him to write. When you get across the street, I would love for you to point out to me where any of your emissaries or whatever said that Eye Asher Eye said this. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be them talking. This is what I say. Even your Christ. Well, this is the mitzvah. This is what came out of your mouth. If you are Eye Asher Eye, you should be repeating what you have already said. Why in the world do you have to make it a point to say, this is what I say? And whatever you say should be lining up 100% of what you've already said before. So why is it different? Can I take a sidebar real quick? Can I take a side quest? Okay, let me take a side quest real quick. It's funny to me, and you can put this in your quiver, because I know y'all run into Christians. How many of y'all run into them holy rolling Christians they want to talk about their text? Let me give you something to ask them, okay? Give you something to ask them. Or have them consider this. God, we'll use their vernacular, created all things. Would you think that they would agree with that? Yeah, okay. Created all things. They may or may not know that there is a nation of people called Hebrew Israel. Let's assume that they know. When we get over to the New Testament, this is what they may not know. It's what we establish in what you call the Old Testament, which is the Masoretic writings for us, the Hebraic writings. there is a set apart people, right? There's a set apart land, right? The Most High has a name, right? And what else? The Most High has mitzvot, rulings. When we get out of this 400-year dirt nap, the Most High changes his mind and eradicates the set-apart land. You don't hear about that no more. Gets rid of the set-apart people. You don't hear about that no more. One of the cornerstones of Christianity is the fact that the mitzvot have been done away with. That's gone. And how do you know what the name of your Yahweh is? You don't. All the things that have been established in the Masoretic writings have been erased. The Most High has already given through our prophets the keys, let me use your vernacular, to salvation. We already know through our prophets that the Most High has said, I'm going to revivicate you back into the land. Right? If you've studied it, now your pastor might know that, these people might not know that, but these are things or principles that have been set up in the text. Right? I'm on good ground. Let's go somewhere. Let's go somewhere. Anybody know offhand? And I want to get it right. We square. We good. Land, people, name, mitzvot. Eradicated, gone. Bad Midbar, chapter number 23, verse 19. Bad Midbar, chapter number 23, verse 19. Numbers. That's the equivalent in English. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Hold on. What's that? It may be in Deuteronomy 2. This is real poignant right here. What did I just establish for you? I established that there's a set-apart people, a set-apart land, the name of the Most High, and the mitzvot. I said all of that has been eradicated and done away with. And also as a part of that whole entire thing, on our Masoretic text, we already know what is going to happen in the end times because the prophets tell us what is going to happen. So the Most High has already have a plan in place. Correct? He has a plan in place. Without the New Testament even being written, you know exactly what's going to happen as a Hebrew, do you not? Okay. So we have a plan. Bad Midbar, chapter number 23, verse 19 says that Eye Asherya is not a human who lies, or a mortal, or a man who what? Changes his mind. You as a mortal human being can change your mind. You can lie. So, you want me to believe that if all scripture is Yah-breathed, and I'm supposed to believe this, what's in front of me, that the Most High doesn't change his mind. So you're telling me that you believe in a God that changes his mind. Now, I'm not trying to convince you of anything else, but here's your thunder right here. I'd be very careful, Christian world, and believing in a God that can change his mind. Because if he changed his mind on us, he can change his mind on you. You think this whole thing about salvation and Christ and all this stuff is here? You don't think that the Most High could change his mind since he's already established it? He can change it on his set-apart people? I'd be so very careful to put your faith and hope and trust and love in something that can change tomorrow. Because over here in my text it says, my Yahweh is not a human being that can lie. And what's tantamount in that sentence is that he's not a mortal that can change his mind. So when he set up that set-apart land, that set-apart people, his mitzvot, his name, that's established forever, and it does not change. I can't validate what you're saying to me when you got a wishy-washy God that's going to go ahead and change his mind tomorrow. He wants Chinese food today, and tomorrow he's going to have Mexican. No. We don't operate like that over here. You have your answer, and it's been fortified by the Nevi'im, by your prophets. Right. Say over here talking about, yeah, we want y'all God over there allow y'all to eat scrimps and loopstuffs and catfish and bottom feeders and all this kind of stuff. The Most High does not change, y'all. So I'm not here to argue with you the stance on your particular text. We don't even have to go that far. I'm just saying I would caution you to not follow after or reconsider your God, because your God will change his mind. Tomorrow he might be like, you know what? The plan of salvation through me going there and dying and being a sacrifice to myself really didn't work, because you guys are not listening to that anyway. So let's try something different. Be careful. Okay, I'm back into it now. Let's get back into the text. That was my side quest. Hopefully that resonated with you, okay? And we still got more to go. Let's keep rocking and rolling. Where did we leave off? Ambassador Hollis, where did I leave off? 24, 25? Okay, let's go back to 24. Or 24. Mephibosheth, the son of Shaul, came down to meet the king. He hadn't cared for his legs, trimmed his beard, or washed his clothes. How in the world is you professing to be a king and you have all your servants are gone? You don't have nobody taking care of you? Say, from the day that the king left until the day he came home in peace. It says, when he came to Jerusalem to meet the king said to him, why didn't you go with me? Hold on, take two. When you came to Jerusalem to meet the king said to him, why didn't you go with me, Mephibosheth? He answered, Mephibosheth is saying this, my lord, king, my servant deceived me. Who is his servant? Siva. I, your servant, has said, I will saddle my donkey for myself to ride and go with the king, since your servant is lame. But he slandered, bing, 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 mitzvot, slandered me, your servant, to my lord the king. However, the Lord the king is like an angel of El. So do whatever seems right to you, for all my father's household deserves death at the hand of my lord the king. Nevertheless, you placed your servant with those who eat at your own table. I deserve nothing more. So why should I come crying any more to the king? The king said to him, why speak any more about these matters of yours? I say, you and Sevilla divide the land. Let's do the mitzvah on slander. And then we're going to open this up a little bit. You go to the mitzvah on slander. It's in Vayikra chapter number 19. This is the one I didn't give you. So it's Vayikra chapter number 19. Verse 16. This is your mitzvah on slander. It just tells you not to do it. And if you get into some of the other issues with slander, you'll get into issues of seruat. I haven't exhausted those texts and wrote those out for you, but those are in there as well. This one here in 16, it says, don't go around spreading slander among your people, but also don't stand idly by when your neighbor's life is at stake. I am Yahweh. Now, I'm pretty much figuring that Sevilla is thinking that he's abiding by this particular mitzvah. He's saying, okay, Mephibosheth is saying, Sevilla slandered my name, but he came out to help you because your life was in danger from your son. But I'm here to tell you that Sevilla did slander my name. David, if we go back over to 2 Samuel, and we're in verse number 29, David says here, I say to you, Sevilla, divide the land. He can't decide who's actually lying to him or not. Whether or not Sevilla is the one that's saying, okay, yeah, He told you that I was down in Jerusalem professing Mavishboshet, that I am the king. That's what Sevilla told you, king. That's not the case. That wasn't the case at all. The king don't know who to believe. So he says, divide whatever is left amongst the both of you. Where have you heard this before? This is a precursor to something else. Thank you. Let's read it. Let's go to 1 Kings, chapter number 3, verses 16 through 28. Shlomo, his son, has something that happens. It's a very famous story about two prostitutes and a baby. This reminded me when David couldn't decide on what he wanted to do, he split the inheritance between these two people. And it reminded me of this story. Let's go over it real quick. I may have to have, we still in 19. I may have to have an intermission. Today says, after this is Shlomo, his son. This is the wisdom of Shlomo. There came to the king, two women who were what? Pros. Blade walkers. Apparently, y'all don't listen to Snoop Dogg. I do. Anyway, they were prostitutes. It says, after presenting themselves to him, one of the women said, now you got to ask yourself the question, if you know these misfolks, what is prostitution doing in the land? But anyway, let's keep going. One of the women said, my Lord, I and this woman live in the same house. And when she was in the house, I gave birth to a baby. 3 days after I gave birth, this woman also gave birth. We were there together. There was no one else with us in the house except the two of us. Everybody got this in your mind on what's happening? Two prostitutes came to Melech Shlomo. And they said, the one lady spoke first. She said, I was in the house by myself. Me and this other. And I gave birth to a child. 3 days later, she gave birth to a child. Nobody else is in the house but us. It says, during the night, in 19, I like this. This is like I'm doing this to a jury. Like I'm presenting a case to you. During the night, this woman's child died because she rolled over on top of it. So she got up in the middle of the night and took my son from next to me while your servant was still sleeping and put it in her arms. And she laid her dead child in my arms. I don't think they liked each other. When I awoke in the morning to feed my child from my breast, there it was, dead. But when I took a closer look later in the morning, why, it wasn't my son at all, not the one I had given birth to. I would think that after you gave birth to a child, how many of you ladies have given birth to a child? You know exactly what your child looked like as soon as your child come out. She know what that child looked like. This ain't mine. Okay? 22, the other woman broke in. No, the living one is my son, and the dead one is your son. The first one said, no, the dead one is your son, and the living one is my son. This is how they spoke in the presence of the king. So you got these two women. They come to the king. The one woman says, hey, I had a child. This other lady had a child 3 days later, went to sleep that night. She rolled over her baby, killed it, took my child, and gave me the dead one. That's the first lady's claim. The second lady's claim is like, no, she's lying. This is my child. This is really my child. I don't know what she's talking about, but this is my baby. Now, could that happen? You just gave birth to a child just a second ago, and you rolled over and killed it, and you think you psychologically all right? No, she's not. Keep that in mind. Not that it has any bearing on it, but I'm getting you into a place of sympathy for this lady on why she's saying what she's saying, to give her a little bit of sympathy, okay? Let's see what the king does. It says, then the king said, this woman says, the living one is my son. Your son is the dead one. While the other one says, no, the dead one is your son. The living one is my son. Bring me a sword, said the king. They brought the sword to the king. The king said, cut the living child in two. Give half to the one and half to the other. Somebody gets the torso and somebody gets the legs. 26. At this, the woman to whom the living child belonged addressed the king because she felt so strongly towards her son. Oh, my Lord, give the living child, you mustn't kill it. Oh, excuse me. Oh, my Lord, give her the living child. You mustn't kill it. But the other one said, it will be neither yours nor mine. Divide it up. What did she say? So he knew who the real mama was, because the real mama was going to be like, listen, I would rather you take my child and you raise it than to watch me go through the misery of what you just went through, of your child dying, and then to have somebody cut mine up in front of me. Have her take the child. That's how he knew who the real mama was. Listen to what's happening. Then we're going to go back to 2 Samuel, and you're going to see what his father did, which is kind of a precursor to this between Mephibosheth and Siva. We're going to see how they talk to each other. It says, then the king answered, give the living child to the first woman. Don't kill it, because she is its mother. 28, all of Israel heard of the decision the king had made and held the king in awe. For they saw that Asher-Eye's wisdom was in him, enabling him to render justice properly. Let's go back to 2 Samuel, chapter number 19. Setting that up as a precedent and a backdrop, because it reminded me of this issue of things being divided, and David didn't know what to do with either. He didn't know who was lying to him. So this is what he says. He says, divide the land. What did his son do with that child? He said, cut the child in half, divide the child in half. So somebody is going to have to step up and really tell the truth or relent. Let's see who relents, because that's the person that actually is telling the truth. It says in 31. Do I want to go up that far? Ooh, no, 30. Let's go back to 29. 29. Let's go back to 29. So the king said to him, why speak any more about these matters of yours? I say, you and Sevilla divide the land. Mephibosheth said to the king, this is the one that's lame in his legs. He said, indeed, let him take it all. Let him have the baby. For me, it is enough that my lord the king has come in peace. If we use the precedent of Shlomo, we can tell here that who's lying? Sevilla's lying. Mephibosheth is the one that's telling the truth. If we use Shlomo as a backdrop to prove this point. Moving forward. Verse number 31. Barzillai, the Gileadi, had come down from Roglim and passed on to the Jordan with the king and bring him across the Jordan. Barzillai was very old. He was an octogenarian. If you ever hear us use the word octogenarian, that's what that means. He's in his 80s. He's 80 years old. He had provided for the king's needs when he was staying in Mahayim, for he was a wealthy man. The king said to Barzillai, Come on across with me, and I will provide for you your needs with me in Jerusalem. Barzillai said to the king, how much longer can I live that I should go up with the king to Jerusalem? I am now 80 years old. Can I tell good from bad? Can your servant even taste what he eats or drinks? Can I hear the voice of men and women singing anymore? I lost my taste buds and I lost my hearing. What good am I to you? Why should your servant burden the Lord, the king? Your servant only wants to cross the Jordan with the king. Why should the king reward this so generously? Please, just let your servant go back and die in his own city, near the grave of my father and mother. But here is your servant, Kilham. Let him cross with the Lord the king, and do for him whatever seems good to you. The king answered, Kilham will cross with me, and I will do for him whatever seems good to you. Whatever you ask me, I will do for you. So all the people crossed the Jordan. The king crossed too. The king kissed Barzillai and blessed him and then he returned to his home. The king crossed over to Gilgal, and Kilham crossed with him. All the people of Yehudah brought the king across, as did half the people of Israel. Now all the men of Israel came to the king and said to him, why have our kinsmen, the men of Yehudah, stolen you away and brought the king and his household across the Jordan, and all David's men with him? All of the men of Yehudah answered the men of Israel, because the king is our close relative. Why are you angry about this? We haven't eaten anything of the king's expense. Has any gift been given to us? The men of Israel answered the men of Yehudah, we have 10 shares in the king. Also, we have more right to David than you. So why do you despise us? Weren't we the first to suggest bringing our king back? Is that true? That's very true. They're the first ones that said we should bring Melech David back, because we just went over the fact that Yehudah was the last one to step up and say something, right? So they're having this feud with Yehudah now, saying, okay, why is it that you get to bring him back and not any of us? In that, back to 43, can anybody postulate when it says the men of Israel answered the men of Yehudah, we have 10 shares in the king? What could that possibly mean? Now, I'm going to give you my opinion. This is not in text. I'm stepping out of text. I'm giving my opinion on the side. So your postulations are about as good as mine. Why does he say 10 shares in the king? There you go. But we have more than 10 tribes. We have 12. So reconcile the number. 2 are in Yehudah. It says all of Israel. All of Israel. There's 10 shares. All of Israel is saying. So this is everybody. So you say what you're saying again? Okay. All right. I like that. Anybody else? I'm not saying it is wrong. That's what I'm saying. We're just talking out loud. It's called an ideation. It's called brainstorming. Anybody else? I'm going to tell you what I thought. It's along the lines of what you said. What I saw was Hebrew Israel is all asking Yehudah. So there's 12 tribes. Yehudah's on the side of Melech David. So we got to take one away from 12, which gives us 11. Out of these 11 tribes, it specifically says that there's 10 shares. So what I applied was the mitzvot that belong to the tribe of Levi. Because Levi does not have any shares or inheritance in the land. The tribes have to give unto Levi. Levi doesn't pay the king. All of our ancestors pay Levi, 10%. That's where the tithe comes from, Christian church, not from the fact that you go in there and tell us that the bishop told you so. That's a mitzvah, but that's been done away with. So you don't have to do it. So I'm alleviating you of all that. I'm giving you license not to tithe. Unless your teacher professes to be a Moreh and follows after the ways of the Most High, which he doesn't. Yeah, send all your tithes to First Tabernacle Fellowship. So where it really needs to go, to the Levium over here. Then you be in compliance with the text. That's where I was going with it. We're saying that we've got 12 tribes. Yehuda is already with David, so there's 11 left. We can't include Levi because Levi doesn't have an inheritance in the land. They don't pay anybody. The 10 tribes pay Levi. So therefore, when they make the statement and say, we have 10 shares in the king, that's talking about those tribes that are left that can contribute to the king, but Levi doesn't. Okay? That's my postulations about that. That's why I said 10 shares into the king. Oh, my goodness. We're going to get done here real quick. It says, anyway. It says, we have 10 shares in the king. Also, we have done more right in David than you. We have more right in David than you. So why do you despise us? Weren't we the first to suggest bringing our king back? But the men of Yehuda spoke more vehemently than the men of Israel. That takes us down out of 19. Now, I got a couple points I have to make in 20, and I'm going to let you be on your way. Y'all need to get up and stretch your legs. Y'all want to keep going? Okay, let's keep going. Let's get it. It says in 20, there happened to be a scoundrel whose name was Donald Trump. No, there was a scoundrel. I ain't trying to be political up here. I'm not trying to set no political stage for this particular chapter. I'm not trying to set a political stage for this particular chapter. I'm not trying to set a political stage for this particular, hold on. I'm not trying to set a political stage for this chapter. But there might be some things that you might find interesting in this chapter that are happening about the political stage. Oh, okay, all right. Okay, all right, let's get to it. It said, there happened to be there a scoundrel whose name was Shiva, the son of Bichur. A who? These Benjaminites keep coming out. Why is it this tribe? You got people throwing stone. You got a stone thrower, Shimei, and then you got this Shiva here, who's a scoundrel. Said, he sounded the shofar and said, we have no share in David, no inheritance in the son of Yeshai. So, Israel, every man to his tent. All the men of Israel left off following David and went after who? Shiva, the son of Bichur. But when the men of Yehuda the men of Yehuda stuck with the king from the Yarden to Jerusalem. So all of Israel is going after this joker, but Yehuda stays with their kinsmen. When David arrived at the palace in Jerusalem, the king took the 10 women who were his concubines. Where have you heard about these 10 women before? When Nathan the prophet comes to David and says, you are a thief for stealing this man, he gives him that proverb. And out of that proverb, or after the end of it, he says, the sword is always going to be in your house. Right? He says, the sword is going to always be in your house. And he says, this is what's going to happen. What you did in private is going to be made public. And then Nathan comes back to him later. And he says, hey, or excuse me, not Nathan, but the Ahithophel, which is David's counselor, tells Absalom, he says, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take the 10 concubines that David has, that he left to take care of the palace, and I want you to go on the rooftop, and I want you to have sex with them so everybody can hear it, see it, and smell it. That's where these 10 concubines he's talking about come back up. We're hearing about them again. It says, the king took the 10 women who were his concubines, who had left to take care of the palace, and put them under guard. He provided for their needs, but never slept with them again. Why? Because his son Absalom slept with them, which would have made them adulterers. Okay? He was being very gracious to them by not killing them. But by the mitzvot. Vayikra chapter number what? 20, verse 10. Mitzvot on adultery. It says, whom he had left to take care of the palace and put them under guard. He provided for their needs, but never slept with them again. They were kept in confinement until the day of their death, living like widows with their husband still alive. Said the king said to Amasa, who is what? David's new commander, because Joab has been demoted for killing Absalom. says, the king said to Amasa, summon the men of Yehuda to come to me in 3 days, and you be here too. Amasa went to summon the men of Yehuda, underline this, but took longer than the time that he had been given. So they're delayed. They were supposed to be there in 3 days. They didn't make it there in 3 days. David said to Avishai, Shiv'ah, the son of Bichri, is going to do us more harm than Absalom. Take your Lord's servants and pursue him, so that he won't overtake the fortified cities and escape us. With him went Joab's men, Kereti and Peleti. I'm a nerd, so I'm not going to let you off the hook with these two guys. Kereti and Peleti are David's personal bodyguards. They're a group of men. How do I know that? 2 Samuel chapter number 8, verses 5 through 18. Man. The Most High is awesome. I am amazed at how much this is in 2 days. Man. It says, David ruled over Israel. David administered law and justice for all his people. We're talking about the royal court of David here. It says, Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was commander of his army. So Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was the chief advisor. Zadok, the son of Aktuv, and Avimelech, the son of Yeviatar, were Kohanim. Seraiah was secretary. Benyahu, the son of Jehoiada, was in charge of the Kereti and the Peleti, serving as the king's bodyguards. And David's sons were Kohanim. Now, I'm only saying that to establish here that when I tell you, when you're reading this, back in chapter number 20 of 2 Samuel, when we bounce back over there, and it says in verse 7, with him went Joab's men, the Kereti and the Peleti, and all the experienced soldiers. They left Jerusalem in pursuit of Shiva, the son of Bichri. Now, that's Yehuda. Commanders in Yehuda. Amasa, his personal bodyguard, and all of the rest of Israel is going after this one dude. Okay? 8. On arrival at the big rock of Givon, Amasa came to meet him. Joab was wearing his battle clothes. This is the newly demoted Joab, greeting the new commander of David's army. It says, on arrival at the big rock of Givon, Amasa came to meet them. Joab was wearing his battle clothes, over which he had girded a belt with a sheathed sword. But as he came forward, it fell out. Joab said to Amasa, is it going well with you, my brother? So this sword falls out that he had hidden. Side quest. Sorry, I'm taking a long time today. Side quest. Come on. Follow me on this camera real quick. Okay. Hi, I'm Shawn. It's nice to meet you. Does anybody know why we do that? Why is it that when you meet somebody, you hold out your hand? That came out of a tradition that when people met each other, I'm coming in peace. I don't have a weapon to kill you with. So I'm shaking your hand to show you I don't have anything. That's why we shake hands. Why in other cultures, this is what you see. When they greet each other. Okay? You know what culture that is. Here, we shake hands. If you go back to where that came from, that comes from showing you that I don't have a weapon. If I apply that to what happens here, there's a weapon that just fell out of this man's sheath, and the first thing that he says is it going well with you, brother? Okay? Then, with his right hand, Joab took Amasa by the beard and kissed him. Took him by the beard and kissed him. Amasa took notice of the sword in Joab's hand, so Joab stabbed him in the groin. His insides poured out on the ground, and he died without being stabbed a second time. You know where your groin is? stabbed him, gutted him. Let his innards fall on the ground. What did he just do? What mitzvah did he just break? Murder. There you go. Shemot chapter 20, verse 13. You don't have to go there because it's real short. That's that famous chapter where all you Christians like to say the 10 Commandments are. Where the fourth one you like to skip over, which is observe the Shabbat. This one's in that set. And Shemot chapter 20, verse 13, it says, do not murder. And Vayikra chapter number 24, you don't have to go there either. It says, anyone who strikes another person and kills him must be put to death. Oh, Yoav. What are we going to do with you, man? Yoav just murdered the commander of David's army, Amasa. Yoav, going back to chapter number 20, right, and the latter part of 10, it says, Yoav and Avishai, his brother, continued in pursuit of Sheva, the son of Bichir. One of Yoav's young men standing by Yoav said, whoever is on Yoav's side, whoever is for David, let him follow Yoav. Wow. Whoever is on Yoav's side, whoever is for David, let him follow Yoav. Okay. Amasa lay wallowing in his blood in the middle of the road, so that the troops came up. They all halted there. Let's read this latter part and get the mitzvah, because there's a mitzvah on this. It says, when the men saw that all the people were standing still, there's a reason why they're standing still. There's a mitzvah behind it. So he dragged Amasa off the road into the field and threw a cloak over him. Once he had been removed from the road, all the troops went on after Yoav to pursue Sheva, the son of Bichir. They're observing a mitzvah. And the mitzvah they're observing is in chapter number 19, verses 11 through 16. It just amazes me as I read this as a Hebrew. Every single time something comes up, these folks are doing mitzvot left and right. Why did they stop in the middle of the road? Why don't they just go around him? They're observing a mitzvah. Let's go. What does it say? It says in Bamidbar chapter 19, verses 11 through 16, it says, anyone who touches a corpse, no matter whose dead body it is, will be unclean for 7 days. And what did David always have his troops be when they went out to war? Clean. It says, it will be unclean. They will be unclean for 7 days. He must purify himself with these ashes on the 3rd and 7th days, when he will be clean. But if he does not purify himself on the 3rd day and the 7th day, he will not be clean. Anyone who touches a corpse, no matter whose dead body it is, and does not purify himself, has defiled the tabernacle of Eye Asher Eye. That's going into the tabernacle. There's a specific place. There's going to be a bunch of questions about this because I know we have loved ones that die. Don't add to it or take away from it. This is specific to going into the tabernacle. The person will be cut off from Israel because the water for purification was not sprinkled on him. He will be unclean. His uncleanness is still on him. Going on, this is the meat where I want to go. I'm reading you some pretext. It says 14, this is the law. When a person dies in the tent, everyone who enters the tent and everything in the tent will be unclean for 7 days. Every open container without a cover closely attached is unclean. Also, whoever is in an open field and touches a corpse, is that what happened? He was on the road, dead body on the road. It says, also, whoever is in an open field and touches a corpse, whether of someone killed by a weapon, was he killed by a weapon? Yep, got stabbed in his groin. Or someone who died naturally, or the bone of a person or grave will be unclean for 7 days. They don't touch that body because they know they're going to be unclean. That's why they stop. They get that body off of the road, and then they continue to move forward. That's why they're doing what they're doing, because they're enacting a mitzvah. Make sense? Okay. probably said more in that portion that's probably going to have some questions more than anything else. But what's here, open field, unclean if you touch it for 7 days. That's why they go around it. Let's jump back over into and finish this chapter out and be done. Okay. 14. Shev'ah went through all the tribes of Israel to Avel and Ma'akah and to all the Berim and assembled and followed him. They assembled and followed him. Joab's troops came and put him under siege in Avel of Bet Ma'akah. They put up a ramp in the moat against the city wall, and all of the people with Joab battered on the wall in order to bring it down. Do you have a visualization of what's happening? Joab has his team of people. They come up to a moat. Everybody know what a moat is? A moat is a ditch filled with water surrounding a city. They put a ramp over the moat so they could go bang on the city doors. That's what they're doing right now, okay? Then it says, oh, come on, here we go. Then it says, a wise woman in the city shouted, listen, listen, please tell Joab, come over here so that I can speak with you. It amazes me, men, how when we are in peril, your woman need to come and show up and help you out. All these men that are in this city, and there was one wise woman who shouted over the gate, says, Joab, come here. I want to talk to you for a second. Let's see what happens. It says, he approached her. The woman asked, are you Joab? He said, I am. She said, listen to what your servant has to say. He answered, I'm listening. Then she said, in the old days, they used to say, they will ask the advice of Avel. That's the city that they're in, that they're attacking. That's where he's held up right now. Shev'av's held up. And they would end the discussion. So anybody going to Avel to seek wisdom, they would get the wisdom in Avel, and that would be the end of the story. There would be no appeal because the people in there were very wise. It says, we were among those in Israel who are peaceful and faithful. Why are you destroying a city and a mother? She's talking about herself in Israel. Why swallow up the inheritance of Eye Asher Eye? Joab answers. He said, heaven forbid that I should swallow or destroy anything. That's not how it is. Rather, a man from the hills of Ephraim, Shiva, the son of Bechir, has raised his hands against the king, against David. Just turn him over to me, and I will leave the city. The woman said to Joab, all right, his head will be thrown down. His head will be thrown to you over the wall. The woman went to all the people with her wise plan. They cut off the head of Shiva and the son of Bechir and threw it out to Joab. What does that remind you of? Who does that remind you of? What's her name? So, she went to see Holofernes. And when she went over there to see Holofernes, she was decked to the nines, Jack. She went over to Yehudit. She went over there and she saw Holofernes. Holofernes was smitten, got him drunk, cut off his head, carried it back to Jerusalem. Listen. This is a woman that just saved the nation, that particular town. How many other women do you know in text that have done the same thing? Who? Rahab, which was who? She was a what? Hold on. What? Rahab was a what? Was a prostitute. She had those two guys come in to her house and she hit them. Okay? That's a woman. But I'm talking about, let's go a little bit deeper. A nation, the nation, or a city. Who? No, I'm talking about in our, let me rephrase the question. In Hebrew antiquity, are matriarchs. The men are the patriarchs. The women are the matriarchs. What matriarchs saved Hebrew Israel? There's one that starts with an E. Thank you. Deborah, who was what? A judge. She saved the nation. Esther. Who else? Yehudit is another one. I got somebody here that saved her man's life. Because you decided you didn't want to circumcise your son. But I'm saying, yeah, I said a nation, but she saved that man's life. Not that who? Cut the foreskin off the son and put it down right in front of him? Moshe's wife. Okay? So, what am I trying to establish here? That there's women in Hebrew Israel that have saved the nation. There are Hebrew, wait a minute. Y'all didn't hear what I said. Hold on, let me say it a little. I'm going to look at you when I say this. There are women, Hebrew women, that save a nation. Okay, y'all didn't hear what I said. Y'all didn't hear what I said. Hold on. There are Hebrew women that save the nation. There are Hebrew women that saved a nation. They're Hebrew women. Y'all, see, wait a minute. I'm not getting the reaction that I'm going out. You think I'm going somewhere. They're Hebrew women that saved a nation. I opened up and I said, I didn't want to be political. I said, there's a Hebrew woman coming to save the nation. I didn't want to be political. Anybody know of a Hebrew woman that's trying to save a nation? Not the nation of her own. But I go back to far what I said last week about the Olympics. You representing a nation of people that you don't even know who you representing. And some of y'all, I don't know what your political stance is, will say, okay, if this other individual gets in, then you Hebrews are going to be in trouble. There might be a Hebrew woman out there that may be saving your hides. Or at least softening the blow. There was a Hebrew woman that saved the nation when she threw that man's head over the top of that gate. I'm going to get everybody here. I ain't coming here to all this political crap in here. Your Hebrews are in places of prominence, just like Esther. She was put in a place of prominence to make sure her people were taken care of. We might podcast that. Anyway, moving forward. We don't want to get political. That's why people get mad at us when we get political. It says, okay, let's go on. Let's finish this bad boy out, and we almost over. It says, when the women, in 22, then the women went to all the people with her wise plan. They cut off the head of Sheva, the son of Bechir, and threw it out to Joab. So he sounded the shofar, and they left the city, sending each man to his tent, while Joab returned to the king in Jerusalem. Once again, Joab was the commander over the whole army of Israel, while Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Keriti and the Peleti, who are what? David's personal bodyguards. It says, Adoram was in charge of forced labor. Jehoshaphat, the son of Achilud, was the secretary of state. Shiv'ah was recorder. Zadok and Evitar were Kohanim. And Ira and Yairi was David's Kohanim. That is going to end chapter number 20. we are going to continue next month with these final two teachings in the book of 2 Samuel. I hope that you got something today out of this teaching. I know y'all was drinking from the fire hose. We did a lot of forensic stuff in here today, but that's what we're here to do. Pick apart our text and learn the behavior of the Most High, the way he treats his people, the way how we used to treat one another, and how this nation of Hebrew Israel is to function. We learn the behavior of who our Elohim is. So when a false one shows up, we can say, you know what? That's not how the Most High acts. Okay? Let me bless you as we stand. You know, my knees and cracking and everything. Oh my gosh, my cartilage in my legs. You was up there too long today. Let me bless you. In Bad Midbar, chapter number 6, verse 24, it simply reads, Yivarekaka Yahweh v'yishmareka. Yair Yahweh panav eleka v'chuneka yisa Yahweh panav eleka v'yasham laka shalom. Which simply means, may Yahweh bless you and keep you. May Yahweh make his face to shine on you and show you his favor. May Yahweh lift up his face towards you and give all of you shalom. West Coast Hebrews. Till next time, thank you.